Hello again. Thank you for staying.
I think you have a few people you might want to bring out.
Yeah, so Neve Algar, who plays Ursula. Where's Neve? There's Neve there. The eternally amazing Barry Keoghan. Where is he? Is Cosmo there, or has he run away, or is he he's in the toilet? Okay, well then, typical Cosmo. Joe Murta, who wrote the screenplay. Colin Barrett, who wrote the original novella. We should shuffle along, probably. Dan Emerson, the amazing producer. And Cosmo, hopefully, somewhere. The door is closed, which doesn't look good.
I'm sure we'll find him. Yeah. We're going to do a Q&A. I've got a few questions I'm going to start with, and then I'll come out to you guys. So have them ready. Raise your hand and shout them out loud so everyone can hear. And we'll get to that in a sec. But Nick, let's maybe start with what it was about the novella that really inspired you to want to write the...
Oh, Cosmo Jarvis.
To tell us what it was about the novella that inspired you to write or to want to make this film.
Well, the novella starts almost identically to the film. You know, you're just sort of thrown into the situation, and it's quite a brutal world, and Arm is quite a brutal character, and he's very vicious and in a way heartless. And you think, I don't like this guy. And then a few pages in, you see him with Jack, and he has this kind of unspoken bond and tenderness with him, and that kind of it didn't make sense in a lovely way, I thought. So that the contrast between these two worlds is, I guess, the thing that excited me, and thankfully Colin sort of let us fuck up his story a bit. So thank you.
Talk about that a little. Did you reach out to him first and say, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, so I read the novella and I sent it to Dan, and I said, we should, I was at film school at the time and Dan was an assistant at Working Title, and we were both desperate to make a film. We thought, maybe we could turn this into a film, and here we are now, which is quite nice. So Dan started inquiring about the rights, and then we heard that these other people were trying to get the rights as well. It turned out it was Conor McCahan and Michael Fassbender were also interested in the same in Calm with Horses as well. So Dan did some dealings, and he's a bit of a hustler. So some deals were done. We joined forces, and thankfully Colin was tricked into letting us have the rights to it, and then we sort of took it from there. And what was great about Colin, I was super nervous meeting him, but the first time I met him, he was completely hungover because he'd just won the Guardian best book award or something.
I'll take that prize. Yeah.
And he'd had a very good time. And I hear he's great in bed. And he was just like, just go do what you want with it, and thanks for liking the story. So that was great. I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah. Not yet. I do want to know about the cast. I mean, an absolutely incredible cast, no? Yeah. Finding them must not have been easy. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, we had an amazing casting director, Shaheen Baig, who's like, a hero, especially over in the UK. Actually, I guess the sort of first piece of the puzzle was Barry. We kind of, I flew over to Ireland and tried to woo you a little bit, and we got drunk on Guinness and sort of I was tried to make him as excited as I could about the project, because Barry and Dympna just felt like they were sort of made for each other. Barry's much nicer than Dympna, obviously, but I'm just gonna stop talking again. and then casting Arm was really, on the page, Arm. I guess more in the screenplay, because in the novella you got a real access into you got the sense that Arm's this brute, but that he's sensitive and he's observative and kind of there's more than meets the eye. But in terms of the screenplay, obviously it's more, you're looking at images and sound, and you can't be in his head in the same way as in the book. So we needed to find an actor that, although he had the physicality and the physical threat by just looking at him, he needed to be vulnerable, and you needed to worry for him rather than, if he was an alpha male or a guy that was too front-footed, you wouldn't root for him. So luckily Cosmo came in and did his audition, and he was so nervous and he was sort of shaking like a leaf, and it was perfect. It was exactly what we needed. And honestly, like without Cosmo, then this film would never have worked. So we're very thankful for that. And then we started looking for Ursula, and then here we have Neve, who's like, one of the most exciting up and coming actors at the moment. I'm not sure if you've seen The Virtues, but I mean, she's incredible in that. She's incredible in this. I think you'll agree, hopefully. And the chemistry was wonderful. And then little Killian, 5-year-old Killian. That was, luckily you looked really very similar to each other, which was very, very, very thankful for that. And he was amazing. He was a real joy to work with. And that was the thing. Obviously there's lots of elements to the film, but the thing that I was most worried about was making the character of Jack believable. And actually Killian just sort of took all my worries away. He was just a little superstar. So.
Brilliant. Let me come out to you guys for a question. Anybody have one? I'll start over there, right in the middle.
Beautiful film. Thank you very much. Thank you for the story. Absolutely wonderful. Great acting, everything. Thank you. My question is about the assault that starts it all. And I thought it was, sorry, I'm trying to figure this, how to say this, but I felt you were sort of on the fence about whether it happened or not, where you were not sort of going with, this is not sure, and this happened. Like, so could you talk about that a little bit? Like, in your mind, did that happen? Were you trying to show it as happening, or was that ever in question?
Did everyone hear the question at the back? So the question was about the assault at the beginning, or the perceived assault, and was that, I guess, in Nick's mind, was that always something that he was sitting on the fence with?
What do you think happened?
Well, I guess I'm asking, were you trying to show it as something that was a question mark, whether you did it or not? Or, like, I was...
Yeah.
Like,
I think
I personally think it was a question mark, but I wasn't sure which way you were trying to portray it as. That was slightly hazy.
I think I mean, this is a question that we talked about a lot at the script stage and everything. I think that it was important that it was ambiguous, because for this family, it's not about having facts or they create their own law, and it's more it's more about power and showing power and maintaining power, and they kind of use Charlie as an excuse to be outraged about something. As you see in the party, it's like she's so disconnected from them. The reason why, the way I look at it is that you see her, he claims nothing happened, but you see the way Charlie is in the bathroom, she's in tears and she's on the floor. So from my point of view, I think something did happen.
Yes, your hand up there.
I read it as redemption. Now, I think that is what is redemption now. But the demons are really, really rotten people. They are a collection of scumbags. You could have taken any of them, and that would seem as even half. I don't know.
Sorry, can you say that last bit again? So not really a question, I guess, but more.
Yeah. Yeah, those fucking devils. Oh.
Did you guys read the short story before, or yeah? And yeah, go ahead. Tell a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'd read Colin's book of short stories, which was Young Skins, and within it was one of them, which was Camel's Horse. So I'd read that prior to then reading the script, and then I was like, oh, I wonder is it related? Yeah, to answer your question, I did.
Barry.
I'm gonna get in trouble. No, I didn't.
Barry.
Sorry.
Barry, do you
Thanks.
read?
Cosmo, did you read it? So happy?
Tell us, Barry.
Joe read it, and
Joe read
Joe
it.
adapted it, and he did a great job, I think.
Amazing.
I read it. I had to read it.
And you should all read it as well. It's really good. Yeah.
Maybe Barry and Cosmo, tell us about where you drew from for the roles in either your life or experience before.
I missed the first part.
Where you sort of drew for your character from in your past or.
Barry, you go first.
I don't know. Like, we spent a bit of time creating, things with Dympna. His look was the main thing for me. Nick told me he wanted a kind of a punk rock look, so we got the hair dyed and that. And in terms of creating my past, no, I mean, no, I don't have anything in relation to him really, yeah.
Anything from you, Cosmo?
I suppose a lot of things. There was firstly the kind of, to get out of the way, the kind of cultural and geographical influence of the place that it was set in, get that out of the way first, and then not asking too many philosophical questions about the nature of the whys and the stuff. I kind of just felt myself in a position where I had to kind of conclude the mindset and the cognitive capability of the man before, and then just let that kind of do some work. So just whatever I could gather from my own life and then apply it to his to some degree, but mostly it was just, I think it's fairly applicable to people in most situations, with regards to trying to do the right thing in difficult situations. And so that was, yeah, it was just like a case of getting the thinking, finding out why somebody that was had capacity for so much violence was sort of so submissive in a way, but it wasn't a case of being submissive. It was just kind of a case of not really having much scope for existential thought. And so that's once that I figured that out, there were lots of versions of figuring that out, but eventually the version was, I don't know, there had to be a reason. There's a lot of reasons, but that was one thing that I just was worrying a lot about, how he thought about things and the things that he didn't think about much.
It worked. It really did. Over here, yes. So the question is about the original story and how that translated to the screenplay and how that feeling of letting that original story go.
Yeah. So yeah, I wrote the original story, and no, I mean, I was just amazed anyone wanted to publish it, and then when it was a book, they want to make a movie out of it. I was like, what? And it's like, yeah. So we went over. I met Dan, and in like offices, for a production company. I was waiting for someone to go, this is no, that's bollocks. Sorry, but. But no, I just I was just very happy with it, and Dan just talked. I mean, all he did was said he read it, and he said what he liked about the book, and he tried to get across his sort of incipient ideas as to what it might be as a film, and that was a very nice conversation. And we kind of I was very happy to have an actual scriptwriter in Joe write it and know what he was doing, and I just said, look, go do your own thing with it. Take the story, do your own, add your own contours, add your own mood, add your own tone, because that's what it. I kind of, if it was a collaboration, I'd done my part by just writing the original thing, and I was very happy for Joe and Nick to go off and do their own things, and they did. And there's so much of it, the skeleton of it, in so many ways, resembles the story, and you can see what's there if you go and read the story. But there's stuff that's really distinct, and it's their own, the invention of Joe and the invention of Nick. And the cast, they bring their own like uncanny thing to it when you see when you see people portraying these characters. So what Barry and Cosmo and Neve have brought is just this other aspect to it that I couldn't have envisaged. So I was just really happy to I answered any questions the guys had, but I really wanted them to go and do their own thing with it. And it was just such a, I mean, I've seen it a couple of times now. It's very strange to see something you make be made into a movie, but I'm so happy that they took it and did their own thing, distinct thing with it. And so for me, I was just very happy to sit in the background and just sort of, Joe did ask me, he would check with me, and everyone made me feel very inclusive, which they did not need to do because, they had the rights, so they could do what they like. But, but they did at every stage, so it was nothing but a positive experience for me.
Yeah, as Colin says, the first time I met him, after he had just won the Guardian Best Fuck Award, he literally said his words were "Go mad, lads," and I've never he said "Go mad," and which was an incredible license to do what we wanted with the script, because I loved the, not just the novella but the entire Young Skins collection. Was the best short story collection I've ever read in my life. And so to have him say "Go mad, lads" was incredibly freeing for this, because there's some big plot-wise. There's some very big changes, and there's things added, and there's characters added and amalgamated, all that kind of thing. But the thing is, what Colin had done in the story was lay out the world of it so clearly and idiosyncratically. All the characters were there. All that, there's most of that dialogue is Colin's, and the dialogue that's new is mostly stuff that I've taken from the prose of the book and made into dialogue, just because the prose itself is so rich and beautiful. I was like, this needs to, you need to hear it in some kind of a way. So even the bits that are added and amalgamated and all that kind of thing, I still feel like they don't really belong to me. They still feel very much like they're coming from Colin's world. I've never done an adaptation before, and I can't imagine I'd be that lucky again to work with a writer like Colin who would say, "Go mad, lads." So that was, and then Dan Empson spilt full coffee on me, which has nothing to do with anything, but I've been waiting 5 years to. He still hasn't apologized. They seem like the best.
There's a lot more there, I'm sure. Okay, we have time for one more question, and I'll go to over here. Yeah.
First of all, the film was amazing, especially in terms of like representation of children with autism. That was amazing. My question is, it's a film about a lot of depictions of different types of masculinity, I suppose. But there's only really one female character in the film, and you were amazing, Eve. So I was wondering how sort of you envisioned Ursula in that sort of hyper-masculine world of violence, and how you navigated that through your performance.
Can you maybe just repeat the question, or do you want me to?
No, you can repeat it, yeah.
The question was about masculinity, and how there was the one character, the one female character, and how she and Neve playing that incredible role, and how she portrayed that role or took that role on in a hyper sort of masculine setting.
It was funny actually because when I read Calm with Horses the first time of Colin's memoir, Ursula was actually a smaller role in it, if I remember. And then what Joe did was to, and what Nick has done is that, you know, you have this thriller crime drama, but in the core of it you have this little boy, Jack, and Ursula, and they are like this kind of heartbeat for Arm. And even though it does come across as this hyper masculine fed movie, which I don't really agree with, because you have all the Dever sisters and their presence and what they bring to it is a huge part of it.
And the widow.
And the widow, yeah. And there's no character in it that is wasted. You know, characters aren't thrown into this just for the sake of it, or if we need, you know, to fill space. And that's how I felt even watching it again, is that every character is there for a reason, and as the widow is in the end, you know, she has some of the most poignant lines in it. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I didn't ever felt when I was part of it that I was part of a very hyper masculine film.
When I was talking, I remember talking to Colin about the characters, and he said it's a world where only the women speak sense, which I think is kind of true in this
very
film.
Good point, and it's very well thought out what they say, and it was an absolute joy to play this character, because for me she has this strength that she is fighting against, and she's trying to, you know, get out of this world where Arm is basically stuck in. Yeah, thank you.
Nick, thank you so much for bringing us this film. Everyone else
Thank you so much for coming to see it. Really appreciate it. Thank
on
you.
the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nick Rowland and the cast of Calm with Horses.